Guys, aloha guys, welcome to JohnRemus.com TV. Taking a look at something about how the ego plays tricks on the mind. I'll give you a number of different examples, 5 examples of how the ego thinks something, but really it's actually not good for you. Like, for example, the ego might like oversized things like vehicles and houses and think that you know someone else is happier and doing better because they're in a certain house or living a certain lifestyle. And guess what? There's actually no significant difference, and it's about how you create in your life, how you do things. That's what generates your happiness and sense of accomplishment. And so the next time you're looking around, instead of either being envious or discontented about someone's what they have, their body, their house or whatever, be able to look at them for a second and be glad for them. And I'm not saying be glad for people who misuse or abuse what they have. Like, say they have what you might describe as an attractive body, or they're wealthy and they abuse that wealth. Then that's not, that's nothing to be approving of, but instead want them to have a good life, want them to have a quality, trusted life partner, or however you describe it, spouse, dream mate, and decide that, hey, you know what, I'm gonna live my life, and I can enjoy my life. I have everything I need to. I have mind and body, functioning sex drive, sex organs. You can have a good life. And there's some other things that the ego will perceive. It'll look at things like in religion, wanting a hero savior or a heaven. Both of them are actually not ideal after investigation, I've found. For example, wanting a hero, we should all create our world and improve it, instead of wanting someone else to do it. And in fact, hoping that someone else is going to come and take care of it actually makes you a submissive, irresponsible individual. And as does wanting a heaven instead of reincarnation. A heaven? A place where it's perfect, there's no challenge, difficulty, substance, meaning, contrast. What would be why would somebody want that? And the same goes with thinking that the ego will think that, somebody's better, or they're more positioned if they're, say, they are able to seduce or a lot of people and be with them, a man or a woman who's promiscuous. But really, that's nothing worthy of envy. That the ego thinks that, but the reality being that what's worthwhile is actually being nice and being respectful of yourself, instead of thinking that just sexual gratification is going to add a power to your life. The reality being that what adds to your life is you're concentrating of your energy, not dispersing it, not giving it to people who you're not serious about. You're not important. They're not your dream mate. They're not there for you. If you give your energy and passion to someone, you might think that, because this person has lots of quote unquote mates, but really that's just their desire running them. Because if they truly wanted, I'm sure that they would say, you know what, I want to have in my life, I want to have somebody who respects me and is completely committed to me. instead of dispersing your energies and passions to various people. The ego thinks that that's impressive. The ego thinks it's impressive to be mean or angry or tough, quote unquote, or aggressive, and the truth being that's trying to have power over others is actually completely inconsistent with being truly royal, being truly powerful. Being powerful means having self-control, managing your emotions so that you can consistently be friendly and to others instead of trying to change their beliefs or their emotions, trying to make somebody who's upset happy. Give them space, respect their space. Maybe offer to communicate via text message or email, for example, instead of verbally or in person, because they might be angry and you don't want to substantiate that anger. It's better to talk indirectly, maybe through a third party. The point being, as I'm going to review here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, numerous different ways to identify what the ego thinks is important and transcend that into a more wholesome, powerful reality. A reality wherein we have control over our lives and not over others. And that where just because you have a certain type of body type or house or anything, life circumstance, no one's better than anyone else. We're all together on this. In fact, we are each other. We're our future incarnations in our past. We're this life force, and in order to truly feel like, perhaps you could say, meaning or family or caring, I think it's better to look at everyone as, be able to look at everyone, just walk around and look at people and say, that's me. And don't do stuff like this spiritual, uplifting practices in unsafe situations. Do it in places where you're literally safe. You don't want to be friendly or positive in a dangerous place. That's another thing to consider, that if you get into too much emotional, whether in a bad mood and angry, or also if you're really excited or joyful, it can leave you vulnerable to people. The ego thinks that being angry is being powerful, or somehow you'll make you stronger, but it's better to be neutral. Breathe, focus, either attack, to defend yourself or extract yourself from a situation. The ego thinks it's good to win an argument. Leave someone alone. Don't want to argue with them. Treat them as you want to be treated. Even if you think they're mean, well, why would you want to get involved in the meanness? And that affects your karma. You're being rude to another. And, the ego thinks that it's useful to say that, oh, that person's crazy, or tell them that, you're acting crazy or mean or rude or stupid. But guess what? It's actually stupid or crazy or mean to describe somebody as such or say that, because it isn't, first of all, it's intended to make them feel badly, and hopefully that when they feel badly, they'll stop. But the ego thinks that that's the most effective way to change and influence people. In reality, it's to focus on people's things you like about people. Like, for example, I myself, I don't like when people feed animals, because I'd rather they feed other people. But maybe I can say that, well, at least they are trying to show an act of compassion, and it might not even be compassion, by the way, because those animals will just have further offspring who will be subject to the undesirable circumstances that they're currently in. The ego thinks that it's nice to be friends and with your children and spoil them, but it's actually completely the opposite. It's better to train them to be their own person, not to be subservient. Not to say that, oh, that's my child or my boy or girl, but to call them by their name and have them call you by their name instead of parent, father, uncle, grandparent. All these terms, they require a submission dominance dynamic. It's not conducive to, that's the reason people get raped or taken advantage of, because they have this whole idea of, oh, this someone else is my authority, and they go into the world expecting people to give you free gifts, food, transportation, shelter, as some parents do, just because they're lonely, because they want friends. They spoil their children, and the children become vulnerable and familiarized with something that's actually really bad. It's not reality. Reality is anyone who's doing certain things like that will take advantage of you, manipulate you, and such. And so let's go beyond all this egoic confusion and into a higher degree of clarity and intelligence. Thanks for considering.